welcome to week 2 of Committed, where we're looking at how commitment is worth the effort. Now, last week we were in Ecclesiastes 9, where Solomon encouraged us to dive in. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. There's no halfway to commitment. You can't kind of commit. Life is better when we are fully committed to the things and the people around us. Now this week we're going to dig into this idea of commitment a little more and how it's a tool that we can use. I mean, let's be honest. People just suck sometimes. You know what I mean? Maybe it was the kid you were best friends with in elementary school. You ate lunch together every day. You spent weekends at each other's house. I mean, they knew the secret password. They knew where you hid your stash of candy. They were present in some of your most vulnerable moments, like when you accidentally walked into the wrong bathroom before lunch, or when you peed the bed in second grade. I mean, if that isn't a committed relationship, I don't know what is. But then this cute new girl shows up in third grade, and all of a sudden your friend starts ditching you on the weekends to go hang out with her. Or maybe it was in high school, and your home life was just a little off. You saw your friends with their nice little picket fence and Sunday lunches, but for you, it was a war zone. If people weren't yelling at each other, something was probably wrong. I mean, that's what family's supposed to look like, right? The idea of commitment in relationship, man, it comes with a lot of baggage for you. You were looking for every excuse in the book to get out of that commitment, hoping maybe you could go off to college and find a new family, or perhaps your family would just forget about you and you wouldn't have to endure that hell anymore. The idea of commitment in relationships, man, it can bring a nasty taste in so many people's lives. I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. People just suck sometimes. They let us down. They take advantage of us. And so when we hear this idea that God is committed to us, that He wants to be in a relationship with us, we kind of keep Him at arm's length and we have this show me attitude. And then on top of all of that, we look around, and I mean, life is just full of mess. Life is tragic sometimes. I mean, how do we process this idea that God is for us when we can't even make sense of our surroundings? Life presents all kinds of challenges, all kinds of difficulty, all kinds of scenarios that frankly are way over our head. But it's in that space that we have the opportunity to see that Jesus is actually with us. David figured this out. He had seen some struggles in his life. I mean, he had experienced rejection. But in Psalm 23:4, it tells us that even when I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid. Check this out. For you, and he's talking about God, for you are close beside me. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have struggle. It doesn't mean that we don't have to walk through the mess, but here's what it means. Even in those moments, in that space, God is with us. He is committed to us, and that can give us confidence. I love it when I get home from a long day at work, and as soon as the door opens, Landry, my 2-year-old, she comes running up yelling, "Daddy!" She is so excited to see me, which obviously makes me happy. And even though she can't fully communicate everything with long sentences yet, it's apparent that she feels safe because I'm there. And here's how I know. It only takes her about 4 seconds of me being home before she climbs up on the coffee table and she stands up, she turns around and she looks at me. There's so much joy and pride in her face, and part of it is her saying, "Hey, Dad, look at me, look at what I can do." But part of it is her saying that she feels safe because Daddy is there. She knows that I'm going to catch her. And so sure enough, she gets this mischievous look on her face, and then she wants to jump off the table. But can you see what's happening? She gains confidence as soon as I walk in the room. "Hey, y'all, look at what I can do." "Wait, it's dangerous?" "Oh, that's okay. My dad's here. He's going to take care of me." "Oh, I could get hurt." "Oh, I'm not worried about that. Dad's going to catch me." She has a swagger when I walk in the room. But here's the deal. It's not to impress me. It's because of me. She knows that I'm committed to her and to her well-being. And that's just a small picture of what God does for us. We can have confidence that even in the darkest, messiest moments of our life, that God is with us. And if you ever have any doubt of that Jesus is with you, I hope you're encouraged by what Matthew 28:20 says. It says this, and you can be sure of this. Check this out. I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Now that is something that can give us confidence. Have you ever met someone that really loved sports? I mean, sports fans love to brag about their team. We love to puff out our chest and proclaim to the world that we are better because of who plays for our team or because we have nicer facilities or whatever it is. But there's this one argument that just trumps everything else when it comes to sports, and it's this: scoreboard. In other words, look at the scoreboard, know the stats, check out the record. You can say whatever you want about how great your team is or how nice their uniforms are, but look at who scored the most points, because they're better. And the same can be said about God. He has shown His commitment to us over and over. History is His scoreboard. Okay, Chris, maybe I can buy into this idea that Jesus is with us. I mean, people have always let me down, but I kind of get the idea that God is inherently better than humans. But why? Why is Jesus with us? I mean, I'm a screw up. My mom, she's reminded me my whole life that I'm unlovable. You can look at my dating history. People use me and then they discard me. There is no logical reason that Jesus would choose to stick by my side. But the answer to that is simple. Not only is God with us, He is for us. Romans 8:28 says, and we can know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose for them. But check out what Paul says just a few verses later. He continues in verse 31, what shall we say about such wonderful things as these? Here it is. If God is for us, who can ever be against us? Right here, Paul clearly states that God is for us. Not only does He promise to be with us, to walk through the mess with us, but the reason that He sticks around, the reason that He chooses relationship with us is because He is actually for us. Yeah, you may be a mess. No, you don't have it all together. But God is not in a hurry to fix us. Our behavior, it's not His first priority. We are His first priority. Loving us is His main concern because He is for us. He is committed to us. This is illustrated so clearly in the story of Mary and Martha and Lazarus. They send word to Jesus and they let Him know that Lazarus is dying. He's on his deathbed. And the Bible goes on to say that mysteriously, after receiving this news, Jesus chooses to wait for 4 days. He's only 2 miles away, but He waits for 4 days. And of course, by the time that He arrives, the Bible says that Lazarus has died. And Jesus gets there, and it's this scene. Friends and family are gathered around, and Lazarus has already been put in the tomb. They've all said their goodbyes. And Jesus walks into the middle of the mess, into the middle of this situation. But check this out. This is crazy to me. The shortest verse in the Bible is found in this story. It says in John 11:35, Jesus wept. Now, this idea is kind of strange to me because if you keep reading the story, you're going to see that in just a few minutes, spoiler alert, Jesus is literally going to raise Lazarus from the dead. He's going to change everything. He is going to give Lazarus life. So why is Jesus crying? Well, because He's with us and He's for us. And even though in the future all of this is going to be fixed, and in the future all of our questions may have answers, today there's pain. Today there's uncertainty. Jesus, because He is with us and He is for us, He empathizes with our pain. Even though He is the answer, even though He is the one that changes everything, He is so near to us. God is not some cosmic force sitting up in space playing chess with our lives. This isn't a game to Him. He's with us. He is for us. And yeah, He knows we're walking through a mess, but He chooses to step right into the middle of it with us. And maybe right now you're facing a relational crisis and you're questioning, God, are you really with me? Are you committed to me? How are you for me in this situation? Or maybe it's a money challenge or a physical challenge that you're facing. I believe with all my heart, because of the incredible promise that we heard in Matthew 28, Jesus will never leave us or forsake us. He is always with us. He is committed to us. And so what is our response? And I'll close with this. We talked about it last week. Commitment is worth the effort. It's the tool that we can use to get the most out of life. You want to experience the most from a relationship with God? Commitment. You want to see what it looks like for God to be with you and for you? Commitment. You want to see God work everything together for good? Commitment. God has already demonstrated that He's committed to us, and now it's our turn. As you dive into discussion with your group, I want you to talk about the impact of God being with us and for us. How does that play out in the middle of your mess? And what should our response be?